Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our podcast Mental Was Unleashed. I'm your host Potatojuice, and as always, I've got my co-host Slim here. What's up, Slim?
Hey everyone, glad to be here. And today we've got a super exciting topic lined up.
Absolutely. So we've got, you know, uh, Frank, the CEO and lead engineer of Fide AI, and we'll be diving into the world of AI innovation. So, I mean, this is special, episode especially with the new AI meta and how AI is popping up. What do you think about that, Slim?
Yeah, that's right. Fide AI is making waves in the AI space, and we are about to get the inside scoop on what they are building and how it's shaping the future. It's gonna be exciting.
So yeah, grab your headphones, sit back, and just let's jump right in.
E pra começar o final de semana, vantagem vou ter que tá chique bacana. Forte, forte, se não tá de lagoste, não sei se vou usar o lacinho ou campana. E crocodilo estampado no peito.
Frank, the first question is I'm very curious, and maybe it's not that exciting, but how is your daily routine? At what time do you wake up, and how many cups of coffee do you drink, and when do you time? At what time do you get back home, or ever get back home? Let me hear
Uh
those.
Man, that's a good question, right? I think if we're being honest, I don't really have a specific routine. My day basically generally starts 5 o'clock, 5 a.m., something like that. I'll get up. Uh, I have a I have a chocolate lab, so I'll take her out, make sure she gets up in the morning, get her some breakfast. Some mornings I'll work out and try to get a little something to eat, and then as soon as I can, I'll start, checking my messages and what's going on. So maybe I'll give myself 30 minutes in the morning, and then go jump in the shower, come out, maybe you know finish a cup of coffee like you mentioned, and then I'm working by like 6:30. I'm like in the work because we work with folks you know in a bunch of different time zones. So I've friends in Asia that are just
Yeah.
getting at the end of their day, so you got to catch up with them. And then in the beginning on the East Coast, you want to make sure everybody gets going. And yeah, so I would say there's no like in between all that stuff. There's no routine, which I think is kind of well suited to the kind of person I am, because getting up and doing the same thing every day is maybe not my speed. Like I like to be able to like make it up and go after what you think is important, which is pretty awesome about being a founder of a company, because the lucky thing is you don't have a routine, so you have to be
Yeah.
okay with that. So I guess I'm lucky. Yeah.
So you don't have a plan for tomorrow exactly. You just have a roughly plan, and
Yeah.
you don't think about the details. You just have targets, and you just let's go with the flow here.
I mean, yes, and that's what I think is also like a lesson to take from that is, like, instead of trying to script out every part of your day, like if I have to do media commitments, or you know, um, I'm due to give an interview, or I have to be somewhere. Like, of course, like you do that, and then you have your daily meetings with some of the folks that you have to check in with. I think everything you can do outside of a meeting to limit like what you need to do at meetings is probably important. I think like people spend too much time just in meetings in general. Um,
Yeah, I
but
agree, and I'm sure
but
Juice is also agree. I hate meetings more
yeah,
longer
not
than
not a
20 minutes. Sounds great.
not a huge fan of just sitting there watching people say the same thing and dance around questions. Like, if you show up to a meeting, you know, you, we have a rule at the beginning of the meeting. You have to say what the meeting is for, and then what you're going to do at the meeting. Like, it's two minutes at the beginning of a meeting. You have the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, you reiterate why you went into the meeting and if you accomplish what you went into the meeting for. And that what that helps you do is pretty quickly figure out if you need to make a recurring meeting or not. Because if you're not doing the things you said you would do, why you having a meeting? So um, I think that's one of the things. But yeah, like as far as like, do I know what's going to happen tomorrow? Yeah, as far as the technology stuff that we're working on, we have a pretty important integration coming up. We just are, working to close out the Mantle AI Fest that was really good to us, and we're going to roll some more complexity and improvements on top of the games we did. So sitting down with the engineer, I'm not just just the founder and CEO here. I'm also one of the core engineers on the team. So I have to jump in and do some of that work, and I'm looking forward to that. But then, hopefully, if you're asking what's going to happen tomorrow, hopefully I can get done by like 5 o'clock and get ready to have a somewhat of the weekend, because we've worked the past 6 weekends, I think, and gonna have to see my kids at some point. But yeah, that's
So,
it. I mean, that's pretty much my plan. High level things you got to get to, and then whatever else you can do is gravy.
but I think considering that how many companies you have and how much success you accomplished, I think it's the right way for you. It's you're not having routine and all your creativity room for creativity works then. And this is going to be our first question actually. With how did you come up with the idea of starting up this Fide AI? Because it's kind of okay. There are lots of AI projects in our ecosystem, but the Fide AI is really something different. It's called a bridge between the human and the artificial intelligence. So, want to give us the story?
Yeah. So I've been using and working in AI since way before it was the cool thing to do. Like I was, um, one of my previous companies that got pretty big, you might have heard of it, called Social Flow. Um, we started using AI and machine learning techniques to classify um, stories so that they could be mapped to advertising categories for media companies. And so our customers were like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Al Jazeera, you know, Reuters, BBC, like really big companies. And at one point we looked up and we're like, we have 400 million pieces of content coming in every year. And so we have to figure out a way, because we can't do it manually. There's not enough people, and we have to figure out a way to do this technically. So you're looking at whether or not to take a story and map it to travel or map it to food, but it's about a restaurant in Paris. And so like, how do you teach it how to do that? And so we started coming up with some pretty interesting techniques for that. And then on the optimization side, you're figuring out how to cluster and deploy those things. So if you have 1,000 things you can tweet or post to Facebook, right? Which of those
Yeah.
um, do you do? And sometimes the answer is you don't, and there's ways to figure that out. But we started using AI and machine learning techniques, I would say back as early as 2012, 2011, maybe. And some of the stuff like TensorFlow wasn't available, so we had to build some of that stuff that is now available in the packages like that. So it's one of those things where you know it, I'm familiar with AI, where it came from, a lot of the ways it do it. And I'm a technical advisor for a venture fund out of Boston called Glasswing Ventures. They're one of the biggest and probably earliest AI centric funds in the country. I've gotten to see a whole lot of deals with them. I've seen things come up, so I know that there's you know real and valid uses for AI in technical projects. This isn't one of those things where we're like, let's slap AI on it, and
Yeah.
then what we'll do is we'll find a problem in search of an AI solution, right? Like that's not really what we did. We actually started this company in with the idea of helping people protect themselves against hype and FUD, and just have them focus on actually the real things that could determine value and longevity in a community and a project, and help do that. But one of the things we were really good at, and it's not a surprise given my background in AI,
Yeah.
is we were good at predictions. Like we were good at figuring out where things were going to wind up, and if these events were happening, what were the possible outcomes, and what is the most certain outcome. And with assets, one of the things that people are super concerned with is if the price is going to go up or if it's going to go down. So
Yeah.
we're pretty good at that. And there's a
It's
whole
all
bunch of
about that.
there's a whole bunch of ways that we learn to do it. And we have these AI models that use convolutional and recurrent neural networks, use XBoosted regression learning, and we're doing all these techniques to determine sort of from the data we have what's the most likely next interval asset price. So if is it 1 second, 1 minute, 5 minute, whatever we're predicting for. And the thing that's missing is when the training models are there, they're going off of what's already happened. And
Yeah.
like we started off today, my routine's not the same every day. You
Yeah.
multiply that across 8 billion people, and the world gets pretty chaotic pretty quickly because people's routines break down. And every day, if you were a computer, everything about your day would seem like exception handling, right? So the markets, which have normal operating patterns, they wind up in fact looking like abnormal things to some degree all the time. And so what's missing in those models that feed those those asset price predictions, and they're very accurate. But what's missing is the last bit of human input, which is the most important bit of human input, but it's by nature what's not in the training model. So
And it's
how
the
do you
missing part,
yeah.
right?
So how do you take what's not in there and blend it in a way that's both quick, easy, sources enough signal, right? And gets it together with a model that's actionable and then apply it towards a result. So what Fide does, if what MetaFide does with Fide AI token, is it allows people to get their input on whether our price prediction is like generated by AI. And the AI models compete, so we pick the best one. So is that model's prediction too high or too low in like the spot game that we have out there? And then there's a range game where it lets people say, in a 5 minute window, how far is the price going to bounce back and forth?
Yeah.
And so I think very different from the other projects that I've seen out there, but it works very well. We just published our first set of findings to some investors that we're working with, and we'll make them. I guess I'll make this part public here. Is
By,
we found
by
that
the way, Frank, would you like to, sorry for interrupting, would you like
yeah.
to share your screen so you can uh, show our audiences what we are talking about? And, if you would like to do it, please take
Um,
control. You can do
let's
it.
see, I could, but my desktop's probably not fit for public consumption.
Okay,
Um,
then we will do it. No problem. Just if you would like, we will just surf around the metafied pages, and if you would like us to show any specific one, just ping us. Sorry for
yeah,
interrupting. Go on.
yeah, I'll send you some good stuff to check out. But
Okay.
basically, spot.metafy.io and range.metafy.io, those games. What
Yeah.
what what's going on there is the AI will publish a prediction that sets the line for the game, and then people on the spot game can say that's high five, low five is what we call it. You can say that AI prediction is too high, so I'm going to go under, or it's too low, and I'm going to go over. And and then on the range game, range fighter, what you do is you set a low and a high boundary for the asset price, and as long as the asset price stays within your window, you're eligible at the end to share in some of the winnings. But if it breaks your boundary, you fall into the pool, and everybody stands to win from there. But the way the rewards are calculated is only you share in a ratio of how precise you are. So it encourages people to be as close to the boundary as possible without falling in. So you can't just set a safe boundary because then you're by ratio you're not going to get any return. So it's it's really good to encourage people to participate and take that human signal and then nudge our predictions one way or the other. And what I was about to say just a couple of minutes ago is the
Yeah.
outcome of marrying the human input to the prediction models is that the combined signal outperforms the raw AI by about 23% in our research.
Yeah,
And
I was waiting for
in
it. 23% from the full
23%.
cumulative, yeah, sum up, and it's actually more than 23% then, because it's from the total of all other. it's filtered. So I think
Yep.
you have accomplished more than maybe 30. I don't know, but
Well, yeah,
it's
because
really
the
huge
AI prediction is
numbers.
already considerably accurate, right? So it's the
Yeah.
AI is already going to be much improved over moving average models that a lot of banks and traders are using. So this type of AI is already outperforming those models. And then when you marry the human input, we're way ahead on that. Like we are able to source quite a bit of alpha, and it lets us figure out not just when to get in and when to get out of a position. Because what we do is we take the signals that we use on the games, and obviously it's a utility for the token. It's a great tokenomic model. Um, we we burn 20% of the tokens that are in each game, so it's consistently deflating the token supply. So that's great for the holders of the token. But what we also do is we take the signal, we apply it towards the the models that we have, and on behalf of an institutional business where we have hedge fund partners, we trade for them live on the fly with the signals as they're integrated. So it lets us find better trades, not just when to get in, when to get out, but the size and the magnitude of your position. It helps you figure out that too. So it correlates with how much certainty we are seeing in the signal that we're sourcing from the humans plus the AI.
Yeah, great. And by the way, we would like to ask you further with your campaigns. I saw that in Discord you have three campaigns going on right now. One is the MetaFi Mental AI Fest, which is getting concluded today. I guess
Mhm.
already concluded or few hours. And shall we start from this and then go with the next two ones?
Yeah, so the Mantle AI Fest, that's been great. We've gotten, I think I want to say the last time I checked, 117,000 uh, addresses from the project that way, wallet addresses, users, whatever you want to call them. And
Is it above your expectations? Is it above
oh yeah,
or you?
we 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 actually, I mean, we wound up basically breaking the fundamentals of our round of investment, because when we started the round, we expected to be at about 25,000 active users when we got to the end of it, which is great, for an AI project that's going into the seed, that as a seed company, it's got 25,000 real users,
Yeah.
and then has revenue. Like we thought that would be great, but now we're like I just said, north of 100,000. We consider 80,000 of the users of our products to be active, so um, they're they're real active users, and we just blew by everything that we thought that we could do. So obviously we're huge fans of the team at Mantle and the way they've worked with us. um Glad to be working with Layer 3 and the help that they've given us. But it's been great, and it's one of those things where like every day I wake up, and one of the things that I like to do when I finally do sit down at the computer is I'll share something to the team that I think is pretty interesting about like what we've accomplished. And it helps me just be thankful and grateful for what we're doing, but lets people know, like, look, let's take a minute, take a breather, look what we did. And yesterday, 2 days ago, actually, I shared to the team, hey, look, we crossed 1 million transfers of the Fide AI token. So not just
It's something to
transactions, but
celebrate.
yeah,
Something to
and not just,
celebrate, right?
it's not just transactions, but that's transfers of the token, which means it's actually going to apply to actual things. So you want token utility, that's a great measurement right there. And and when I looked uh today, I said, I was like, oh look, between 2 days ago and this morning, we our usage has grown 15%. So 15% of all five transferred happened between 48 and 24 hours ago. Like we got 15% of the volume of our lifetime transfers in just 24 hours. And so it's
So
growing.
can we call it again only in crypto?
Yeah. Yeah, again, I mean, it's amazing. It took off so fast, and it's one of those things where obviously you want to say, oh, I knew it was going to do it, and I thought it could, but like this level of virality or success or whatever you want to call it, yeah, it's just pretty amazing to watch. We're really, not we know what we need to do. We have a great plan, but it's one of those things where you look at it and say, man, this is taking off pretty fast. So really happy for it.
Oh yeah, by the way,
I think
talking.
you have every reason.
Oh yeah, sorry, Clem, go ahead.
No, bro, please.
Yeah. So, by the way, talking about community side of things, since I work closely with the community side of things, I'm really interested to see and learn more about what you're doing in terms of community side of things, how community members are rewarded, and what are the benefits of using Fide AI and or other platforms, and the things that you're currently planning to do for the community, etc.
Mhm. Okay. So, well, the just in the planets in our light paper. So once we're listed, every 90 days we're going to transact our own treasury, just like we do for the hedge fund partners I just described. And we are going to transact the treasury with our algorithm. And we're going to take every 90 days, we're going to take 25% of our gains and buy back FIDE off of the market. So it's a written record to the blockchain. You can see how much the community signal was worth, but also pull tokens out of circulation and burn them so that people can sell them back if they want. But also the holders can see oh, if I hold tokens, this is good. And it incentivizes the value in playing. So your play is worth more, your tokens are worth more, most likely, right? So that's the one clear benefit that everybody in the community gets just by being part of Five. We have a great community. We have, I saw Slim talking to a couple of these guys over the past couple of days. But we have a guy in Australia named Yeti, Keyboard Yeti, and then Roman Crypto in Germany. And those guys are great community mods. They really know what they're doing. They've worked on some big projects before. And they work really hard. They come up with great ideas. So when you see that, it's great. And they stay, right there with the community. And that's invaluable. Like just the stuff that we've learned from the community is great. But I also think it's important, as the CEO, I spend a couple hours a day with the community every day. And I check in with them, and I don't just assume someone else is going to manage it. Like I've developed relationships with some of the core users, and I'll get DMs from them with screenshots and diagrams and stuff. Be like, what if we did this? What if this happened? They gave me a great idea today, and I talked to them. I was like, okay, we're going to take that idea and we're going to build it into a game. And next Tuesday, I'm going to release that feature, and it's going to make the game better. It's going to give us a better signal, and that came directly from the community. So that's kind of the way we talk to them. And as far as what the community can do, we run these community events where we'll put up a bounty or we do what we did with Mantle, where there's sort of a prize pool to win from. But we let people accumulate tokens that then when the listing event happens, they're all holding, they're all invested, and we've proven to them that we're burning tokens out of existence, that we have a great tokenomic model. It's also worth noting that our team is a 6-month cliff on all of our tokens. So nobody on our team can touch any tokens until 6 months on. And we don't talk internally about selling tokens. We just talk about building the business that we're building, because we believe in the long-term viability of the space. It'd be easy enough for me to just take an AI job as a product lead in one of these, large companies and go in there and do that and just develop the product there if I just wanted to be an AI developer. But I think doing things for blockchain is super important because, I have 2 kids and I'm looking at, what the world's going to be like. And blockchain is about making a way to be able to trust a counterparty in a transaction. Just think for yourself, right? Is there any institution that you can think of that you trust more now than you did 10 years ago? Like, is it government, the church, the IRS? Like,
Oh.
is, you know, like, is there anything that you can think of that seems like they're better now than they were 10 years ago? It's, and that
Hard,
it gets
hard
pretty tough to
question.
come up with a good answer, right? So, and everything is linked with
Yeah.
a medium of exchange and the rules of exchange, which is money and laws. And when you
Mhm.
look at like what smart contracts are, it's our locally scoped law when you're on a blockchain. So it's the rules by which we'll engage, it's the contract and the law, and then the medium of exchange are the tokens and what they're worth. And you peg tokens to things that you want to transact in. So I think a very sane thing to do is figure out how much of your time or labor something costs, normalize that, and then figure out what you're doing. But blockchain offers really disparate groups of people mechanisms to cooperate in a world where cooperation is at an all-time high for premium. Like, it's so hard for people to cooperate. So if you really think that you're good at solving problems and you're good at building businesses, you're good at building cultures and organizations, instead of taking an easier way out, like, why not? I've been successful in my life and I've been thankful and grateful for that. But if I'm really going to try to do something here, and it's not just about the money, right? Like, if you're really going to
Mhm.
say that, then put your, roll up your sleeves and get to work on that and prove it, because the world needs things like that. And so I look at what we can do, and obviously I think there's a lot of space there for making things which benefit people that probably need them the most. So that's one of the things that I take very seriously about the way we build this company, and the things that we're going to do.
Yeah, and like I feel like what I've said, like it exactly matches with like Mantle's vision, like the mainstream adoption part, and a lot of things that you said about transparency. I can relate to it because like I used to work for a bank, and like I mean like I've told this like before on like some of my videos, like not like traditional banks. There's a lot of cloudy gray area, and like even though the
Mhm.
bank says like oh, we're doing the best for you, and that's not always in their like like agenda to like do the best for you always, like yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, in some ways they can't, right? Because one of their businesses directly competes with interests. Like, if you want stability in your assets and predictability, and they have a business that profits by hedging and monetizing volatility,
mhm.
those don't go together, right? But you have one group that does this and one group that does this, and as long as the bank's being fed, they're okay with it, right?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Pretty fine.
yeah, that's what like talking about like vision, like I want to like also touch on this, like your vision is like bridge between AI and human intelligence makes the real difference. Like can you like explain this like tech to like our audience in a simpler way, like like a how like simplified way.
sure. So a really simple example would be, the current price of Bitcoin is $67,000, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
and the AI models looks like things are going pretty well, and the AI model says in 5 minutes it's going to be 67,500, and we have long short-term memory is one of the models, and gated recurrent units is another one, and convolutional long short-term is another, X boosted regression is another, and we're coming up with all these models. And then our chooser, the meta layer, the meta in Metafied, sits on top and picks the best performing model based on some recency weighting and
Mm-hmm.
predictability. So it predicts the best model and says, okay, 67.5 is where we think it's going to be in 5 minutes. But then we put it to the community in these games and said, do you think it's going to be higher or lower than that? And if they say higher, and they cluster in early. So in a 5 minute game that's running, if a bunch of people get in early and they say hi, that's a strong signal that the community thinks it's probably going to be higher than 67.5. And if they wait till the very end of the game and don't play as much and not as many people play, then that's a different kind of signal. And if it says 67.5 and everybody just immediately hammers into the under position, right? Then that's also a signal that The
Yeah.
community is telling you like, hey, we're early, we don't think it's that much, and even if it doesn't break on that interval, the cumulative effect of those signals over a few games in a row is like, okay, the community knows that's not a real floor. It's going to, fall out from under it. And you can do all these other predictive things on the back end of that. If you have an equal distribution of one of higher or lower, then that's also a signal that maybe the market's about to move sideways. And that's early, that's not present in the AI system. So the community gave you something that isn't yet reflected in buys and sales on the side. And when a market's operating normally, the algorithmic trading kind of is taking over and the volume is driven by
Mhm.
that. But then at some point, uncertainty and irrationality, subjectivity is overweighted in markets, and it's driven by people trying to strategize and try to figure out what they're going to do. And if you can figure out that before it hits the market, then your your alpha is outside of the market signal and you have something to act on. And so we're predicting crypto assets. And I know one of the questions we're going to talk about is roadmap, but very soon we're going to move from crypto to forex and then equities and commodities. So we're going to be able to stand up these games like we have in a bunch of different places and let people take positions on over under and over under range, and then option interest in some of these as well. It's going to be the third game that comes out. But it's not just limited to just this asset class. We started here because crypto people understand using a token to stake a position obviously a lot better, but it doesn't mean that we don't plan to expand the top of the funnel by opening up to everybody else in the world and converting Web 2 alts into Web 3, which is what we're about to do.
Do you think that, Frank, do you think that mental is perfect pitched for your product? Is it why you are here in this ecosystem?
We picked Mantle for a couple really just mostly technical reasons. Like in the beginning, it
Yeah,
was a fast settlement time, right? It
yeah,
was a it was a real democratized settlement mechanism, an eventuality mechanism. So it had all the things that we wanted for a fair blockchain, and it performed well. So we took that first, and then we started to discover, when we narrowed it down to a few final folks, so the ones that we centered our build on Mantle in the beginning here, because they they understood what we were doing, they liked the project, and they were willing to actually help us get exposure. And we picked Mantle because of the technical reasons, but then we just found out that the team behind him was really supportive and was great to work with. So that was, I want to say, I would love to say that was an intentional choice, but we just got lucky, I think.
yeah. Actually, me and Juice is also feeling in a similar way. We are in Discord team, and we are community stewards since quite a short time, and we feel it that everyone is supporting, and it's something unique. And but on the developer side and investor side, of course, is pretty much more important. And
Yeah.
you mentioned that a word, a fair blockchain. And
Mhm.
it was important for you to choose mental. Can you open that a little bit? What do you mean with fair blockchain?
Yeah, you want to make sure that it's not controlled by, some type of mechanism that's going to be open to a really easy majority attack or something like that. You don't want those things. You don't want outsized influence from, you know, a few stakers to overpower the rest of the, you know,
Yeah,
the validators or whatever. Like just all those democratic or decisioning things, like they were all in place with Mantle. Um, there's a few quick blockchains, but it's sort of held by a very few set of validators, and it's centralized, to the degree like, probably like I would say probably like really great performing blockchains that I'm not quite sure is like would be like Solana. Like that's one of those things where everybody's on Solana, but when you're talking about finance and things that impact
Yeah,
funding and law, like I don't think you can leave those kind of things up to like, well, I hope that the people do the right thing because what crypto is supposed to solve for is it's supposed to remove the need to have to trust humans and instead trust math. And if what
yeah,
you have is like a well-performing blockchain, as long as the humans do the right thing, well, then there's the flaw in your system, right? Like, is if that's the if, eventually, given enough time, the humans aren't going to do the right thing, and so either that blockchain moves away from that model and grows out of it, or it just keeps compounding systemic risk. And so I was like, that's not a problem that Mantle has, and that's going to be good because when we branch into the commodities and derivatives markets, right? We're doing that next year. Like as soon as I close the seed round here, we're building for that, and so that's a $34 trillion trade market, and you're not going to be able to convince everybody to do the kind of business you're not going to need to do to reach what we're capable of if they're wondering if the way it's transacting is at risk from manipulation, right? So choosing the right technology in this case, it wasn't a matter of like, well, it's convenient and this is catchy and investors like it. Like it was, you needed to actually think, how are you going to support the users and the institutions that are going to set up shop on you 5 years down the road or 15 years down the road? Like you can't. Um, it's not a meme token, I guess is what I'm saying. Like your dog with hat or whatever that stupid product is. Like those meme tokens they're going to wash out. Nobody's going to remember them, but people are
Yeah.
going to remember when you're transacting, 100,000 blocks of Berkshire Hathaway, like, or you're moving boat titles and from one marina to another on a transaction. Like they'll definitely remember that. Like they'll forget long. They'll long have forgotten these stupid meme token projects, but these
yeah.
ones, you know, I, and I can't knock those things enough. You let me talk long enough, and I'll burn them to the ground. But like that's
we,
we can skip
but
over
you
stuff.
know what? We really understand you.
I think it's actually like let me get on my soapbox because I think it's a crime. It's I don't begrudge people for getting rich off of figuring out trends. Like that's fine and it's fun or whatever. But if you're a real builder and you're trying to do something, then you know you just trading a token is not good enough. What does your token do? What does it power? What does it bring together? And what systems does it improve on to convince people to do something different? It has to be for their benefit. It has to be cheaper, better, faster. It has to improve their life for using you. And meme
Mm,
tokens are just a fun way to speculate. And and what you're doing is at the end of the day, you're just making a system that's going to extract value. And I don't want my legacy, my team doesn't want what we did and came together to be, oh, we got together and pulled value out of the blockchain, like the community, because that's not the way this is going to work. When you're competing against entrenched financial systems that have a vested interest in resisting transparency and resisting access to the normal people to big opportunities,
yeah,
like they're not going to just flip over and be like, "Yeah, let's do it this hard way," because for them that's what hard is. But for somebody that has no bank account that comes from that, and then 3 years later is able to transact, commodities globally, like that's a path that I want to be part of, where you're introducing value and pulling it into the blockchain, such that like what my team's contribution was it far outweighs anything that we get out of it. And of course, we want to earn a good living, and everybody wants to do well from it. But it, flipping a meme token and walking away with $10 million to me just seems
yeah.
stupid and a waste of time. Like, and I'm not interested in it.
Mhm.
Apparently.
You're not a startup founder if you do that. You're an actor.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to call me on that, they can come up to me at one of these conferences and point out that I said it. I'll say it to their face.
No, no, I
I
agree
think
with you.
many investors, I think should listen to you because we really lack of role models in this crypto ecosystem. I don't know what Juice is thinking, but I guess he is also thinking the same way. We need more people thinking about it, not just doing the usual stuff with the usual ways. Crypto is about being creative. It's something. It's unusual thing, and you shouldn't. You told that when it's starting to be normal, then it should be something abnormal.
Yeah,
Everything is volatile, and you should get used to it. If everything is not volatile, then something is going on wrong. So
yeah.
it's
You're trying to change, thousands of years of centralized finance. I
yeah,
mean, like, and it's like what the other financial system did was it was better ways to concentrate authority into a financial infrastructure, which is basically a hierarchy. Whoever has the most money drives the decisions. And what we're doing is we're basically saying, well, let's represent property in a more peer-to-peer way. Like, I am not what you would call a socialist. I'm not I'm not a collectivist by any means. I think I'm pretty capitalist. Like, where it's one of those things where whatever you want to call it, capitalism has been destroyed. I would say what people are calling capitalism is a sort of a misrepresentation. But the thing that I want is you work for something for a certain amount of time, you can own your property, and you should be able to like do with it when you see fit. And if you want a world where like more people could do that kind of stuff and can sort of you know transact fairly and you know with minimum restrictions on what they did because they earned it, like if you're going to do that, you're at odds with most of the global financial system. So like you got to be willing to work hard and be clever and make the kind of moves that's going to take. And it takes really smart people that are motivated, dedicated to do that. You can't just be, you can't make a real difference if you're just getting into this for because you want to get your pictures on, Instagram or be said, mention that you've seen at some party. Most of these
Mhm.
startup people, they're not going to stick around. Like most of the people you see, like they just try it for a little bit and it's not for them because it's hard. They fade out. But like there are the thing that's great about blockchain, there's still and will be more like people who actually want to make a difference and change things. And they're doing it because they're like they see that it's fair. And it's one of those
yeah,
things where what I was saying is like the other financial system was about concentrating authority and power. And what this is about going the opposite direction. And a lot of people are doing it now because they see what I said at the beginning here, which is you're gonna you don't trust institutions more. Like you look at where it's going, it's just all concentrating to these big things soaking it up on the graph if you look at the world like that. And
yeah.
you say, well, I don't want it to keep going that way because people starve that way and they're boxed out of opportunity. And I can either be a part of that machine or be out here and fight. So, you know, come join us out here and fight if you're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I agree with that. Like, see, even though like I know Solana is like amazing technology, I'm not like trashing on Solana's technology, but rather like what's happening in the ecosystem. It's a lot filled with like a lot of people, having projects with rug pulls. I mean, anytime you're winning on Solana, somebody always has to have like take the short end of the stick. Always, you're winning, like somebody's losing big. And yeah, I agree with you on like that. And like mainstream adoption is like what we should focus on, and building the technology side of things rather than walking away with a big bag of money.
Yeah, I mean, like what's going on in Solana right now is not not a knock on the technology bit of it, but what you have over there
Mhm.
culturally is it's kind of like a popularity contest where you're you're trying to get trends, get inside access to where people are going to be clustering and what things in favor, what's out of favor. You know, I guess you're running for school student council president, and that's what you like. That's a good thing for you to be involved in. Stay with that. You're going to have a great future in politics. But if you want to build something that convinces some dude that he doesn't have to break his back for the rest of his life, and he puts 5% of his earnings and what's going in it. It returns more than 3% from some high yield savings account, and you can get into. Then if you want to build that, then don't be part of a game like you said where you have to short someone else because they didn't pick the right colored token, or like it's it didn't blink or didn't have a gopher or a goat or a mole or fucking bear on it or whatever. Like it's like a
Yeah.
like that's just dumb to me. Like it's just a waste of talent if you're over there doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, talking about like technology side of things, like let's say, I'm a developer, or like, there's developers looking to build on top of your tech stack. Like, what kind of support do you offer to developers?
We plan to offer a way to integrate into both our offering of AI models that we're doing predictions with. So we're going to let people
Mm-hmm.
compete directly with us on our platform. That's eventually something that's coming. But we've had to build from end to end. So we are building in to connect with other projects and things like that. But in order for us to accomplish what we did, it's unfortunate, but we couldn't trust anybody to build any piece of this,
Mm-hmm.
even if they might be better suited to do it, because when we started doing this 2 years ago and the bottom fell out of the market, everybody was abandoning projects and not doing what they said they do. And Web3's got a pretty bad knock on it where teams build things and they take forever and they don't ship them and the UI is not great. Like, and we just sort of like, all right, we want to control our own destiny. And we think of ourselves as pretty good engineers. So what we're going to do is we're going to build the whole thing end to end and then work to integrate the best pieces of it. So as far as what we do with developers right now, our developer program is not public and we have plans for it. I would
Mm-hmm.
say a year from now, it'll be very clear what we do when we announce it. But for right now, in order to accomplish what we did, we just had to undertake the whole thing, sourcing the things that get the users
Mm-hmm.
and the signal all the way through to executing the trades on behalf of the institution partners. We had to build 100% of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
Just one last question from my end, and then we will ask if you are going to have any alpha or any new features announcement or something like that. My question is like, um, from our life, from our professional business life, we always have a trend. We always have a major target and issue to accomplish, and trying to push all the options, and we give all of our energy to achieve that. What is your and what is Fide AI's current trend? What are you trying to do and break through?
okay. So the first thing that we want to do
Yeah,
is we want to demonstrate that humans feeding predictive AI models and working with them side by side can generate a better outcome in the markets than simple raw AI for a bunch of reasons. One, because it returns great, capital
and
returns.
mental AI test was one of its part, right?
Yeah, it sure was. It was great and super successful. The Mantle AI Fest competition was an amazing success for us, and I believe it was an amazing success for them too. When you look,
Yeah,
over 100,000 wallets participated in that. We generated 2 million transactions as part of it. So I think it's in the game. It's just the ones that qualified for the competition. We did 1.2 million, I think, transactions or something like that. So but it was smashing success, right, for that. But what we want to do is we want to prove that these things generate better outcomes. Because if they do, then what happens is the financial markets that you apply all these asset predictions to,
yeah.
they not only have to, like, they can't just get in these war of HFT style trading with each other where capital will flow to the best predictable out yields in the market. They're going to be tied to human wants and desires and subjectivity at some point and earlier in the process. So it'll keep the market more accountable so that it will have to take into account where the humans think the limitations on where the assets should be. So the markets aren't blindly funding projects that don't serve humans because they're biased. And if humans hate what a product's doing, hate a company, hate a line of its products, don't like, you know, what they're doing, then the market eventually will stop rewarding it and will stop funding by buying its stock or its bonds or whatever. So it'll help the market become more accountable for a longer time than if you just let the AIs run wild. Because I don't think that's going to be in the service of humans. It's just going to be in the service of transactionality, whatever you want to call it, where whatever you can group together transactions and pull as much arbitrage off, and it'll wind up misallocating capital to pieces of the economy that aren't necessarily great at serving the humans. So we want to marry those
Yeah,
two
that's
together
what.
really quickly. But also just from a nuts and bolts perspective, we started off this thing with a goal of maybe let's get to 50,000 users. It looks like maybe in a week or two we're going to cross over 100,000 users. So our goal is 250,000 users by 12 months. So when we look at, we'll have 250,000 players of our games, which will imply, maybe 300,000, 400,000, somewhere in there, holders of the Fide AI token. And we're going to convert at least half of those from Web 2 into Web 3. Because
Yeah,
it's important
might
for
be a
us.
humble target. Might be a
It
humble
might
target.
be. It might be. But like again, I thought 50,000 seemed like a stretch for a company of our size to be able to do that, and we just blew right past it. So um, I think we can do it. I think we can do it. But like you
Yeah,
said, it might have set the bar a little low, but we just got to be
yeah.
disciplined and go after it. So I think we'll do that.
It's such a joy, and I'm really happy to hear these achievements. Really, because these are kind of uh, achievements that brings the humanity front. It'll be another step. It's what
Yeah,
we missed last since many years. It's like only chaos and no one is stepping up. And this really makes me very happy to hear this.
I, I actually
And
should shout out one of our KOLs because um, and it's like normally the deals you make with KOLs, you give them a like good terms on your token or whatever. One of the KOLs that helped us out the most, this guy named Sky Lee, and he's a big Binance um, KOL, but he also has a lot of Bybit folks and people in the Mantle ecosystem, and he
yeah,
found us like what we were doing, and we wound up meeting with him. We were over there in Token 24/9 in Singapore, and he had already believed in what we did, and we signed the deal with him before. He took team tokens to do the KOL, to do like the influence stuff that he's doing. Like he liked what we were doing so much that he didn't even press us for like a better deal because he just wanted to help the project so much. He doesn't unlock until we unlock. So it's like having that level of support from someone with that much reach was
yeah.
awesome to see. Like, because everybody
Inspiring.
wants to try to help their project, and he chose to help us for the same reasons why we want to do it. Because that guy wants to do the right thing for the right reasons, and so we're trying to find those kind of people to work with us as we go through this.
When you have the goodwill and the good people around you, everything is simple, right?
It's a lot easier, man, when everybody's rowing, everybody's helping, everybody's carrying. Like it's and I think that's one of the most grateful things here, and one of the biggest sources of joy is that like you go through this, and because it's hard, you find people who are exceptional and doing the right thing. And so like
Yeah, that's right.
it's
Yeah,
just up to us to collect those people and band together and build it from the inside out, right? We have enough to succeed as a movement now. We got to stop looking for things to fall down from the sky and help, like because we actually can we can make it happen. We have all the ingredients to like do something really big and revolutionary here, and it's going to happen. Like it's we might as well be the ones that push it over the edge right now.
Yeah, it's kind of the natural selection, it's the conclusion. It's the ones that can survive in chaos and bring something out, make sense from this chaos. So, in Web3, we can see more people than on the streets. That's for sure. And Frank, it has been a really very nice, inspiring, and great episode. And do you have anything to add and or any alpha for our audiences? It has been an honor to be with you on the same stage.
Thanks, man. Same. Keep doing what you're doing, fellas. I really like it. I would just say to everybody out there, like now is the time where everything you do counts, and come explore what we're doing. Metafide.io and at Fide, the Fide AI token. If you could, say something nice about us, that'd be great. If you want to follow me on Twitter or follow Metafide or Fide AI on Twitter, that'd be great. Um, as far as alpha, just play the games with us. You'll you get early access to our price predictions just by playing the game, and it's you just have to have some mantle for gas and some Fide AI tokens, which you can get from the faucet right now. Until we list, we let people pull a tiny amount from the faucet every day. So you can play with live tokens and you can get those real time price predictions for 5 minutes in the future without paying for them. So you could just get all that AI compute power just by being in the games. And I know people in our community are trading on those signals right now. So yeah, just everybody, let's do this. Let's stick together. Let's check and see where we are a year from now, and I'm sure it'll be better. So appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully I'll come back someday and do it, but can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, thank you so much
Yeah,
for your time, and even accepting the invitation to drop by. I mean, see, usually what I have, at least, I mean, I might be wrong. Usually when you say a CEO, very busy people, I mean, yeah, you have a busy schedule for sure, and but then you still found time to give us and come do this podcast as well. And yeah, I'm really grateful for that as well.
Awesome, guys. Again, thank you. Take it easy.
yeah. Then we would like to have a promise from you that you will stop by us in 2025 again. So
I'm in.
more inspiring communication with the mental
Sign me up. I'm in. Let's do it.
community. Okay, thank you very
All right.
much then.
Take it easy, guys. Bye.